They laughed at the humans' warship until it cracked their planet in half-captain. Sarah Chen watched through the viewport as her ship moved slowly toward the massive space station. The Terran Defiance looked terrible compared to the other ships around it. Her vessel was covered in patches of different metals. Rust stains ran down its sides like tears. The hull was dented and scarred from years of hard use. It looked more like a garbage truck than a warship. Around her ship, hundreds of alien vessels floated in perfect formation. The Vorthak ships looked like giant crystals that sparkled with inner light. They were beautiful and deadly, each one the size of a city. The Marathi vessels were smooth and flowing, like metal fish swimming through space. Their hulls changed color as they moved, shifting from blue to green to silver. The Hive Collective ships were the strangest of all. They looked alive, with organic curves and surfaces that seemed to breathe. Chen's ship looked like junk next to them. The alien ships were works of art. Her ship was a tool built for one purpose only. The aliens just didn't know what that purpose was yet. The communication system crackled to life. Human vessel, you are cleared to dock at station level 7. Do not deviate from your assigned path. The voice belonged to a Zenturi traffic controller. Chen could hear the contempt in the alien's voice even through the translator. Chen guided her ship through the docking procedures. As they moved closer to the station, she could see alien crew members pointing at her ship through the viewports of other vessels. Some were clearly laughing. Others looked confused, as if they couldn't believe something so ugly could actually fly. The docking clamps engaged with a loud clang that echoed through the ship. Chen turned to her small crew. There were only 12 humans on board, far fewer than the hundreds or thousands that crewed the alien ships. Remember the plan, Chen said quietly. We're here to listen. Let them talk. Let them show off. The more they underestimate us, the better. Her weapons officer, Lieutenant Rodriguez, shook his head. Captain, they have thousands of ships out there. Each one could probably destroy us with a single shot, Chen smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. They could try. The airlock hissed open and Chen stepped onto the space station. The gravity here was stronger than Earth normal, designed for the heavy Zentari. The air smelled strange, full of chemicals that human noses weren't meant to process. Chen's environmental suit filtered most of it out, but she could still taste something metallic on her tongue. A Zentari escort was waiting for her. The alien was tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like stone. Its eyes were large and black with no visible pupils. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move. The words came from a translator device hanging around its neck. Captain Chen, you are to come with us immediately. The Galactic Council is waiting. Chen followed the alien through corridors filled with beings from across the galaxy. They all stopped to stare at her as she passed. Some pointed with whatever they used for hands. Others made sounds that her translator couldn't interpret, but she was pretty sure they were laughing. The council chamber was huge. It could have held 10,000 beings easily. The ceiling disappeared into darkness above. The walls were covered with screens showing star maps, ship positions, and what Chen recognized as tactical displays. This wasn't just a meeting. It was a show of force. The council members sat on raised platforms around the chamber. Each species had its own section, with their own lighting and atmosphere controls. The Vorthak delegates looked like living statues made of crystal. When they moved, light bent around them in impossible ways. The Marathi swam in tanks of liquid that might have been water, but probably wasn't. The Hive Collective representative was a mass of insect-like creatures that moved as one organism. At the center of it all sat the Zentari High Executor. It was larger than the escort who had brought Chen here, with skin that looked like polished granite. Its eyes glowed with a soft blue light. When it spoke, its voice filled the entire chamber without any need for amplification. Human, it said, and the word sounded like an insult. Do you know why you have been summoned here? Chen stood in the center of the chamber, looking small and fragile, surrounded by all this alien power. I assume it has something to do with humanity's expansion into the outer territories. The chamber erupted in sounds that her translator identified as laughter. The Vorthak made chiming noises like broken bells. The Marathi produced bubbling sounds. The Hive Collective clicked and buzzed in harmony. Ambassador Krelthax of the Vorthak hegemony rose from his crystal throne. His voice sounded like music, but cold music, like wind through an ice cave. Expansion? Is that what you call it when your primitive chemical rockets stumble into civilized space? More laughter filled the chamber. Chen waited for it to die down before speaking. "We call it exploration," she said simply. The Marathi delegate rose from her tank, water streaming off her silver skin. "Exploration with weapons, human. Your ships carry crude kinetic weapons and explosive devices. You threaten the peace of civilized space." Chen looked around the chamber. "Interesting definition of peace. From what I can see, every ship in your fleets is armed." The High Executor leaned forward. "Our weapons are sophisticated. They are precise. They are civilized. Your weapons are primitive. They are crude. They are barbaric." A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing detailed scans of Chen's ship. The aliens had been busy while she docked. They knew everything about the Terran Defiance's systems. Or at least they thought they did. The display highlighted the ship's mass drivers, simple magnetic accelerators that could fire chunks of metal at high speed. It showed the nuclear missiles in their launch tubes, primitive chemical explosives by galactic standards. It detailed the ship's armor, layers of steel and ceramic that any energy weapon could burn through in seconds. "This is what you bring to threaten us?" Krelthax asked. "This collection of scrap metal and chemical explosives?" The chamber filled with laughter again, but Chen noticed something the aliens had missed. The display was showing the ship's surface systems, the weapons that were meant to be seen. It wasn't showing anything about the ship's real payload, hidden deep in its core behind layers of shielding that looked like engine components. Chen smiled. "You're right. We are primitive compared to you. Our ships are crude. Our weapons are simple. But you know what? They work." The High Executor made a sound that might have been amusement. "Work? Human? Your entire fleet could not damage a single one of our capital ships. Your weapons would bounce off our shields like raindrops." "You're probably right about that too," Chen agreed. "But here's the thing about humans. We don't just build weapons to fight other ships. We build them to solve problems." The chamber grew quiet. Something in Chen's tone had changed. The aliens might not understand human expressions, but they could recognize confidence when they heard it. Chen looked around at all the assembled delegates, at all their beautiful, powerful ships visible through the chamber's transparent walls. "You want to know what humanity's real problem is? It's not that we're outgunned. It's not that we're outnumbered. Our problem is that we're tired of being pushed around by bullies who think technology makes them superior." The silence in the chamber was complete now. Even the background hum of the station's system seemed to fade away. Chen's voice was calm, almost conversational. "So we solved that problem." The Zenturi High Executor stood up from its throne. The movement was slow and deliberate, meant to show authority. Its glowing blue eyes fixed on Captain Chen as if she were an insect that had wandered into a palace. "Human," the High Executor said, its voice echoing through the vast chamber. "You speak of being pushed around, but you are the ones who have invaded our space. You are the ones who have built colonies where they do not belong." The holographic display changed, showing a three-dimensional map of local space. Red dots marked human colonies and outposts scattered across dozens of star systems. To Chen, they looked like the first tentative steps of a young species reaching for the stars. To the aliens, they probably looked like an infection spreading through their territory. These systems were claimed by the Galactic Council 3,000 years before your species even discovered fire, the Marathi delegate said. Her voice bubbled through the water in her tank. "You have no right to be there." Chen looked at the map. Each red dot represented thousands of human lives, families who had traveled for years to reach new worlds, children born under alien suns, farmers, miners, scientists, teachers, all of them just trying to build better lives. "Claimed by who?" Chen asked. "I don't see any of your people living on those worlds. I see empty planets that we're trying to turn into homes." The Hive Collective spoke next. Their representative was actually hundreds of small insect-like creatures that moved together as one organism. When they spoke, it was with thousands of voices in perfect harmony. "The law is clear, human. Uninhabited worlds belong to the species that first claims them. We claimed these systems long ago. Claimed but never used," Chen pointed out. "Some of those planets have been empty for thousands of years. We found ruins on them, ancient cities that nobody has lived in for millennia." Krelthax of the Vorthak made a sound like breaking glass. It might have been laughter. "And now you think that gives you the right to take them? How very human. You see something abandoned and assume it is yours." The High Executor raised one hand for silence. The gesture was small, but every voice in the chamber died instantly. Chen realized that these aliens might argue among themselves, but they all feared the Zentari. The Galactic Council has reached a decision, the High Executor announced. Humanity will withdraw from all disputed territories within 30 standard days. You will abandon your colonies and return to your home system. Your ships will submit to Council inspection to ensure they carry no weapons. Chen felt her heart rate increase, but she kept her expression calm. And if we refuse? The chamber erupted in what her translator identified as laughter, but it sounded more like the cries of hunting predators. The High Executor waited for the noise to die down before answering. Then you will face corrective measures. The holographic display changed again. Now it showed the space around the station. Chen counted the ships visible on the display. 2,000, 3,000. More were arriving even as she watched. Each ship was larger and more powerful than anything humanity had ever built. Do you see, human? Krelthax asked. This is what real power looks like. Not your crude metal tubes and chemical explosives. This is the combined might of civilizations that ruled the galaxy before your son was born. The Marathi delegate swam closer to the front of her tank. Your entire species has perhaps 100 ships. Crude vessels that would not qualify as civilian transports in our fleets. How do you imagine they would fare against this? Chen looked at the display. She had to admit it was impressive. The alien ships moved with perfect coordination. Their weapons could probably sterilize entire planets. Their shields could absorb more energy than the human military used in a year. But Chen also noticed something else. The alien ships were spread out, covering a huge volume of space. They were positioned to look impressive, not to fight effectively. They were focused on the station and her small ship, not watching for threats from other directions. You have a point, Chen said finally. We can't match your numbers. We can't match your technology. In a straight fight, you would destroy us. Finally, some wisdom, the High Executor said. You acknowledge your inferiority. Oh, we've always known we were outgunned, Chen replied. That's why we didn't plan for a straight fight. The chamber grew quiet. Something in Chen's tone had changed again. The confidence was still there, but now there was something else, something that made the aliens uneasy. What do you mean? The High Executor demanded. Chen activated her wrist communicator. It was a simple device, just a radio transmitter, but it sent a coded signal to her ship. The Terran Defiance acknowledged the signal and began preparing for the next phase of the plan. I mean that humans have been studying galactic history for 50 years, Chen said. We know about all the wars you've fought. We know about all the weapons you've built. We know about all the ways you've learned to kill each other. She paused, looking around at all the assembled delegates. But we also know something you don't. And what is that? Krelthax asked. His crystal form was shimmering with what Chen recognized as agitation. We know that none of you have ever fought humans before. The High Executor leaned forward. Explain, Chen smiled. It was not a friendly expression. You fight wars the way you've always fought them. Ship against ship, fleet against fleet, weapons against shields. You fight to capture territory, to control resources, to dominate your enemies. The alien delegates were listening intently now. Even the Hive Collective had stopped their constant movement. But humans learned something different, Chen continued. We learned that some problems can't be solved by fighting. They can only be solved by ending the fight permanently. You speak in riddles, the Marathi delegate said. Do I? Chen asked. Let me be more clear. You want humanity to withdraw from disputed territory. You want us to abandon our colonies. You want us to submit to your authority. The High Executor nodded. Those are our terms. Chen's smile grew wider. Then here are ours. You will recognize humanity's right to colonize uninhabited worlds. You will establish trade agreements with our colonies. You will treat human ships with the same respect you show each other. The chamber exploded in outraged sounds. The aliens were shouting, buzzing, chiming, and bubbling all at once. The noise was overwhelming. The High Executor's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. You dare to make demands? You, with your single primitive ship against our assembled fleets? Chen nodded. That's exactly what I'm doing. Then you are insane, the High Executor declared. We offer you a chance to surrender with dignity. Instead, you choose destruction. Chen checked her wrist communicator. The Terran Defiance was ready. All systems were green. The weapon was armed and the target was locked. You should have studied human history more carefully, Chen said. We don't surrender. We solve problems. The High Executor made a gesture and weapon systems throughout the alien fleet began powering up. Energy readings spiked as thousands of ships prepared for battle. Last chance, human, the High Executor said. Submit to the Council's authority or face the consequences. Chen looked out through the transparent walls of the chamber at the beautiful planet spinning below. Zenturi Prime, homeworld of one of the galaxy's most powerful species, billions of lives, thousands of years of history, a civilization that had lasted longer than humanity had existed. It was about to end. No, Chen said simply. The moment Chen said no, alarms began blaring throughout the space station. The sound was deafening, a wailing cry that hurt human ears even through her environmental suit's filters. Red lights flashed everywhere, bathing the council chamber in blood-colored illumination. The High Executor rose to its full height, towering over the chamber. So be it. You have chosen your species' fate. Through the transparent walls, Chen could see the alien fleet moving into attack formation. Thousands of ships began turning toward the tiny speck that was the Terran Defiance. Energy weapons powered up, creating a light show that turned space into a galaxy of artificial stars. But Chen wasn't watching the fleet. She was watching her own ship on the tactical displays scattered throughout the chamber. The Terran Defiance was changing. It started slowly. Panels along the ship's hull began sliding open, revealing structures that the alien scanners had missed. What they had thought were engine components and cargo holds were actually something else entirely. The Vorthic delegate Krelthax noticed it first. His crystal form flashed with sudden alarm. What is that vessel doing? On the displays, the Terran Defiance was transforming. Hull plates folded back like flower petals opening. The ship's ugly, functional exterior was revealing something hidden beneath. The aliens had been so focused on the surface weapons that they had never looked deeper. Impossible, the Marathi delegate whispered. Our scanners showed no such configuration. Chen smiled. Your scanners saw exactly what we wanted them to see. Simple human technology, crude human design, a garbage truck with a few guns bolted on. The ship's transformation accelerated. More hull sections retracted, revealing a complex internal structure that looked nothing like the simple cargo vessel the aliens had examined. Strange geometric patterns covered the hidden surfaces, covered in materials that seemed to bend light around them. The High Executor's eyes blazed brighter. What is that thing? That thing, Chen said, is humanity's solution to the problem of bullies. The alien fleet opened fire. Thousands of energy beams lanced through space, converging on the small human ship. The weapons that struck the Terran Defiance should have vaporized it instantly. Instead, something impossible happened. The ship absorbed the energy. The strange geometric patterns on its hull glowed as they drank in the alien fire. What should have been a death sentence became fuel for whatever was hidden in the ship's core. Energy absorption technology, Chen explained as the alien stared in shock. We've been studying stellar physics for a long time. We know how stars collect and focus energy. We just applied the same principles on a smaller scale. The Hive Collective's thousands of voices spoke as one. Impossible. Such technology does not exist. It didn't, Chen agreed. We invented it, we had to. When you're outgunned and outnumbered, you learn to think differently. The alien weapons fire intensified. Ships that had been holding back joined the attack. The space around the Terran Defiance became a storm of energy beams, plasma bolts, and exotic particles. Enough firepower to destroy a moon was focused on one small ship. But the ship kept absorbing it all. On the tactical displays, the aliens could see energy readings from the Terran Defiance climbing steadily. Whatever was hidden in its core was drawing power from their attacks. The more they shot at it, the stronger it became. Cease fire, the High Executor commanded. All ships cease fire immediately. The alien fleet stopped shooting, but it was too late. The Terran Defiance had absorbed enough energy to power a small star. The ship's hull was glowing now, radiating heat that could be detected from thousands of kilometers away. Chen activated her communicator again. This time she wasn't sending a signal to her ship. She was broadcasting to every vessel in the alien fleet. Attention, Galactic Council forces, her voice echoed through space. You have just witnessed the first phase of humanity's solution. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your shields cannot protect you. Your numbers mean nothing. The ship began to move. It didn't accelerate like a normal vessel, using engines to push against space. Instead, it seemed to slide through reality itself, moving faster than anything its size should be able to move. "What type of propulsion is that?" Krelthax demanded. "We call it a gravity drive," Chen replied. "Another invention born from necessity. When you need to move large masses very quickly, you learn to manipulate the fabric of space itself." The Terran Defiance was heading toward the planet. Zenturi Prime hung below them like a blue and green jewel, beautiful and peaceful. Home to billions of beings who had no idea what was coming. "You cannot be serious," the High Executor said. "You would not dare attack a civilian population." Chen's expression didn't change. "Watch us." The alien fleet scrambled to intercept the human ship, but it was moving too fast. Ships that tried to block its path were simply pushed aside by invisible gravitational forces. The Terran Defiance carved through their formation like a knife through paper. "This is madness," the Marathi delegate cried. "You will start a war that will consume the entire galaxy." "There's already a war," Chen replied. "You started it when you decided that humans weren't good enough to share the galaxy with you. We're just going to finish it." The ship reached the outer edge of Zenturi Prime's atmosphere. The planetary defense grid opened fire, adding its own weapons to the barrage. Orbital platforms that could level continents focused their fire on the small human vessel. But like the fleet weapons before them, the planetary defenses only made the ship stronger. The Terran Defiance drank in the energy and continued its descent. "Stop this," the High Executor pleaded. "What do you want? Territory? Resources? We can negotiate." Chen looked at the alien leader with something that might have been pity. "You still don't understand, do you? This isn't about territory. This isn't about resources. This is about respect." The ship pierced the upper atmosphere, leaving a trail of fire as it descended. The aliens could track its progress on their sensors, but they couldn't stop it. Nothing they had could catch something moving that fast. "You think we're primitive?" Chen continued. "You think we're weak. You think we're not worthy of your respect. You're about to learn differently." The Terran Defiance dove deeper into the atmosphere, its hull glowing white-hot from the friction. But it wasn't slowing down. If anything, it was accelerating. Chen activated her communicator one last time. This message wasn't going to the alien fleet. It was going home, to Earth, to the human colonies scattered across space. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Defiance. Message begins, they laughed at us. They thought we were weak. They thought we were no threat to their ancient civilizations. They were wrong. Today, the galaxy learns what happens when you underestimate humanity. Today, we show them what human ingenuity can accomplish when pushed too far. Remember this moment. Remember what we did here. And remember that no one, no matter how powerful they think they are, has the right to tell humans where they can and cannot live." Message ends. She closed the communication channel and looked around the council chamber. The alien delegates were staring at the displays in horror as they watched her ship approach their homeworld. "You wanted to know what humanity's real weapon is?" Chen asked. "It's not our ships. It's not our guns. It's not even our technology." The ship was less than 100 kilometers from the planet's surface now. In seconds it would impact. "Our real weapon," Chen said, "is that we never ever give up." The Terran Defiance struck Zenturi Prime at a significant fraction of light speed. But it didn't explode on impact. Instead, something far more terrible happened. The ship burrowed deep into the planet's crust, carrying with it the energy it had absorbed from thousands of alien weapons. All that power, focused into a single point deep beneath the surface. For a moment, nothing happened. The planet looked the same as it always had, beautiful, peaceful, eternal. Then it began to crack. The crack started small. Just a thin line running across one of Zenturi Prime's continents, visible from orbit as a dark thread against the green and brown landscape. The aliens watching from the space station thought it might be a fire started by the ship's impact. They were wrong. The line grew wider, and longer, and deeper. Within minutes, the crack had spread across an entire continent. It cut through mountain ranges like they were made of paper. It sliced through oceans, causing massive tsunamis that could be seen from space as white foam, spreading across the planet's surface. The council chamber had gone completely silent. Every alien present was staring at the displays in disbelief. This was impossible. Planets didn't just break apart. They were held together by their own gravity, by forces so fundamental that no weapon should be able to overcome them. But the crack kept growing. "What have you done?" the High Executor whispered. Its voice was barely audible, stripped of all the authority and power it had possessed just minutes before. Captain Chen watched the displays with calm satisfaction. We solved the problem. The Vorthak delegate Krelthax was flashing rapidly through different colors, his crystal form resonating with what Chen recognized as panic. This is impossible. No weapon can do this. No technology can break apart a planet. You're right, Chen agreed. No conventional weapon can do this. But we didn't build a conventional weapon. On the displays, the crack had reached the other side of the planet. It was now a complete fracture running from pole to pole, cutting Zenturi Prime perfectly in half. But the planet was still holding together, gravity fighting against whatever force was trying to tear it apart. What did you do? The Marathi delegate demanded. Her tank was vibrating as she moved frantically through the water. What kind of weapon was that? Chen activated her wrist communicator. She wasn't calling her ship this time. The Terran Defiance was gone, consumed in the impact with the planet. Instead, she was accessing data files that had been transmitted to automated beacons throughout the system. It wasn't a weapon, she said as holographic displays filled the chamber. It was a tool, specifically, a gravitational manipulation device. The displays showed complex mathematical equations, stellar physics models, and engineering diagrams that the aliens had never seen before. The technology was completely foreign to them, based on principles they didn't understand. For 50 years, humanity has been studying how stars form and die, Chen explained. We've watched planets be born from cosmic dust and seen them torn apart by gravitational forces. We learned that everything in the universe is held together by 4 fundamental forces. Gravity is one of them. The High Executor was staring at the equations with growing horror. You cannot manipulate gravity. It is a universal constant, is it? Chen asked. Your own ships use gravity drives for faster-than-light travel. You create artificial gravity on your space stations. You already manipulate gravitational fields on a small scale. We just scaled it up. The crack on Zenturi Prime was getting wider. What had started as a thin line was now a chasm, hundreds of kilometers across. Magma was flowing up from the planet's core, creating a bright red line that could be seen clearly from orbit. But this is... Krelthax struggled to find words. This is planetary destruction on a scale we have never imagined. Exactly, Chen said. You've been fighting wars with energy weapons and kinetic projectiles for thousands of years. You think in terms of ships and fleets and territory, but humans think differently. The Hive Collective's thousands of voices spoke in unison, but for the first time they were not in perfect harmony. Fear had broken their coordination. How is this possible? How did you develop such technology? Chen looked around the chamber at all the assembled aliens. They were the most powerful beings in the galaxy, representatives of civilizations that had ruled space for millennia, and they were all terrified of one human standing alone in their council chamber. We had help, she said simply. New displays appeared, showing star charts and historical records. The aliens recognized some of the data. It was from their own archives. Information about ancient wars and forgotten technologies. You see, when you're new to the galaxy, people talk to you, Chen continued. Refugees from old wars, survivors from dead civilizations, scientists who were exiled for researching forbidden technologies. They all had stories to tell. The High Executor's eyes were blazing now, but with fear instead of authority. The Kethmar Protocols. You found survivors from the Kethmar Protocols. Chen nodded. Among others. Turns out, there have been a lot of species over the millennia who got tired of being pushed around by established powers. Most of them were destroyed before they could do anything about it. But they left records. They left research. They left warnings. The planet below was shaking now. The crack had destabilized the entire planetary structure. Earthquakes were tearing across every continent. The oceans were boiling as tectonic plates shifted and collided. The Kethmar tried to build a gravity weapon 3,000 years ago, the Marathi delegate said. They were stopped. Their entire species was wiped out to prevent such technology from spreading. They were stopped too late, Chen corrected. They finished their research. They just never got the chance to use it. Lucky for us, they hid their data very well. Evacuation ships were launching from Zenturi Prime now, thousands of them, trying to rescue as many people as possible before the planet tore itself apart. But there wasn't enough time. There were billions of lives on that world. You're committing genocide, the High Executor accused. You're destroying an entire civilization. Chen's expression hardened. Am I? How many human colonies has the Galactic Council destroyed over the years? How many human ships have you vaporized for violating your space? How many of my people have died because you decided we weren't worthy of sharing the galaxy with you? The aliens had no answer for that. They had been so focused on their own superiority that they had never considered the cost of their actions. Besides, Chen added, we're not destroying your civilization. We're just giving you a choice. The crack was almost complete now. Zenturi Prime was hanging together by the thinnest margin, two halves of a planet connected by rapidly cooling magma and the last remnants of gravitational coherence. What choice? The High Executor demanded. Chen activated her communicator again. This time she was broadcasting to the entire Galactic Council fleet. Her voice reached every ship, every alien, every being who had come here to intimidate humanity. Attention, Galactic Council forces. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. You are witnessing the first test of humanity's new diplomatic tool. Zenturi Prime is about to split completely in half. Nothing you do can stop it now. She paused, letting that sink in. But this doesn't have to happen to other worlds. Humanity is prepared to offer a treaty. Equal recognition for human colonies, free trade agreements, mutual defense pacts, all the things civilized species do with each other. Another pause. Or you can choose to continue treating us as inferiors, in which case you should know that we have 17 more gravity bombs. Each one is targeted at a different council homeworld. Each one is already in position. The chamber erupted in panic. Aliens were shouting, demanding to know if Chen was bluffing. Tactical displays lit up as the fleet tried to scan for hidden human ships near their home systems. You're lying, Krelthak said, but his crystal form was flickering with uncertainty. Chen smiled. Am I? How did you miss one human ship carrying a planet-killer weapon? How do you know you haven't missed 17 more? The truth was, humanity didn't have 17 more gravity bombs. The device that had just destroyed Zenturi Prime had taken 40 years to build and had consumed the resources of an entire star system. It was the only one of its kind. But the aliens didn't know that, and their own paranoia would prevent them from calling her bluff. On the displays, Zenturi Prime finally broke apart completely. The two halves of the planet drifted slowly away from each other, still glowing with heat from their molten cores. Between them, a field of debris marked where one of the galaxy's oldest civilizations had made its home. Choose wisely, Chen said into the silence, because the next time you threaten humanity, we won't bother with warnings. The evacuation of Zenturi Prime took 3 days. Chen watched from the observation deck of the space station as thousands of ships ferried survivors away from the broken halves of their homeworld. The aliens moved with desperate efficiency, saving who they could while their planet slowly died. The two halves of Zenturi Prime continued to drift apart, their surfaces cooling and darkening as the molten cores were exposed to space. What had once been a beautiful blue-green world was now 2 chunks of cooling rock, spinning slowly away from each other in a cosmic dance of destruction. Chen felt no satisfaction watching the evacuation. She had not wanted this to happen. But sometimes, when dealing with bullies, you had to hit them hard enough that they stayed down. The council chamber had been empty for 2 days. After Chen's ultimatum, the alien delegates had scattered to emergency sessions with their respective governments. She could imagine the conversations happening on a dozen different homeworlds. Panic, anger, fear, and above all, the terrible realization that the galaxy had changed forever. A soft chime indicated someone was requesting entry to the observation deck. Chen turned to see the High Executor approaching. The Zenturi leader looked older somehow, as if watching its homeworld die had aged it centuries in just a few days. Captain Chen, the High Executor said. Its voice was different now, quieter. The authority was gone, replaced by something that might have been respect. High Executor, Chen replied. She gestured toward the viewport. I'm sorry about your world. I know that doesn't mean much, but I am. The High Executor joined her at the viewport, looking out at the remains of its civilization. 3 billion souls lived on that world. They are refugees now, scattered across a dozen different planets. It will take generations to rebuild what was lost in a few hours. Chen nodded. War is terrible. It always has been. That's why we wanted to avoid it. By threatening to destroy entire worlds, Chen turned to face the alien leader. By making the cost of war too high for anyone to consider. Do you think we wanted to build a planet killer? Do you think we enjoyed spending 40 years and the resources of an entire star system on a weapon we hoped we'd never have to use? The High Executor was quiet for a long moment. The Council has reached a decision, it said finally. Chen waited. We accept your terms. Human colonies in the disputed territories will be recognized as legitimate. Trade agreements will be established. Humanity will be granted full membership in the Galactic Council. Chen felt a wave of relief wash over her. It was over. Humanity would no longer be alone in the galaxy. But she kept her expression neutral. And the other human ships? The ones you threatened to destroy? All threats against human vessels are withdrawn. Your merchant ships will have safe passage through Council space. Your colonies will be protected under Council law. It was everything humanity had asked for, everything they had dreamed of when they first reached for the stars. But the cost had been enormous. There will be conditions, the High Executor continued. The gravity weapon technology must be shared with the Council. We cannot allow any one species to possess such power alone. Chen shook her head. No, that technology stays with humanity. The High Executor's eyes flared. You cannot be serious. Do you understand what that weapon represents? It could destroy entire solar systems. It could crack stars themselves. Yes, Chen agreed. It could. That's exactly why we're keeping it. But the danger is what keeps the peace, Chen interrupted. As long as humanity possesses the only planet-killer weapons in the galaxy, nobody will be tempted to start wars they can't win. The High Executor stared at her. You would make yourselves the guardians of galactic peace? Who gave you that right? Chen gestured toward the broken planet floating outside. You did. The moment you decided that humans weren't good enough to share the galaxy with you, the moment you threatened to destroy our colonies and enslave our people, you gave us the right to defend ourselves by any means necessary. A communication alert sounded through the station. Chen activated her wrist communicator to receive the message. It was from Earth, from the Human Defense Council. Captain Chen, this is Admiral Martinez. We've been monitoring the situation. Congratulations on a successful mission. However, we're receiving reports of hostile fleet movements near the Ross 128 colony. 3 hegemony ships have been detected approaching the system. Please advise. Chen looked at the High Executor. It seems some of your allies didn't get the message. The alien leader activated its own communicator. This is High Executor Thane to all Council forces. Any hostile action against human colonies or ships is forbidden. All forces are to withdraw to safe distances immediately. The response came back quickly. High Executor, this is Hegemony Fleet Commander Keseval. The humans destroyed your homeworld. We cannot allow such an act to go unanswered. We are moving to eliminate their colonies before they can deploy more weapons. Chen and the High Executor looked at each other. The Vorthak hegemony had always been the most aggressive of the Council species. They would not back down easily. Commander Keseval, Chen said into her communicator broadcasting on Council frequencies. This is Captain Chen. You have 10 minutes to withdraw your ships from the Ross 128 system. The Vorthak commander's response crackled with anger. Human, you will not threaten the hegemony. We do not fear your crude weapons. Chen checked her chronometer. 9 minutes, 50 seconds. You are bluffing. The Council has confirmed that you possess only one planet-killer weapon, and it was destroyed attacking Zenturi Prime. Chen smiled. The Vorthak had made the same mistake as everyone else. They assumed that because the Terran Defiance had been destroyed, the weapon was gone too. Commander, let me explain something about human engineering, Chen said. We don't build single-use weapons. We build systems. The gravity bomb wasn't on my ship. My ship was just the delivery system. She activated a new communication channel, one that reached beyond the local star system. Automated Platform 7, this is Captain Chen. Authorization code Omega 77. Target Vorthak Hegemony Homeworld. Stand by for deployment authorization. The response came back immediately, broadcast on all frequencies so that every ship in both fleets could hear it. Captain Chen, this is Automated Platform 7, target acquired. Vorthak Prime is locked. Gravity bomb armed and ready for deployment. Awaiting final authorization. The silence that followed was complete. Even the background hum of the space station seemed to fade away. You see, Commander, Chen continued, we learned something from studying all those ancient wars. The species that survived weren't the ones with the biggest fleets or the strongest weapons. They were the ones who made sure their enemies knew exactly what would happen if they pushed too far. The Vorthak fleet began withdrawing from Ross 128 immediately. Chen watched on the tactical displays as 3 massive warships turned and accelerated away from the human colony at maximum speed. "Wise choice," she said. The High Executor was staring at Chen with something that might have been awe. "How many platforms do you have?" "Enough," Chen replied. "Scattered throughout the galaxy, hidden, automated, waiting." It was true in a way. Humanity had spent decades placing automated beacons throughout known space. They looked like navigation aids or communication relays. In reality, they were targeting systems for weapons that existed only in theory. But the aliens didn't need to know that the platforms were empty, that the gravity bombs existed only as blueprints and mathematical models. The threat was enough. Fear would keep the peace better than any weapon. Over the following weeks, the political transformation of the galaxy was swift and complete. Human colonies that had been threatened with destruction were suddenly receiving offers of alliance and trade. Species that had ignored humanity's existence were sending diplomatic missions to Earth. The balance of power had shifted overnight. Captain Chen returned to Earth to find herself hailed as a hero. The media called her the woman who cracked a planet. Historians compared her to the great military leaders of the past. Children learned her name in school alongside the other legendary figures of human history. But Chen knew the truth. She hadn't won a war. She had prevented one. The real victory wasn't the destruction of Zenturi Prime. It was the fact that no other worlds would need to be destroyed. Humanity had learned to make the galaxy listen. Not through conquest or domination, but through the simple demonstration that some lines should never be crossed. The Terran Defiance had been an ugly ship, cobbled together from spare parts and human stubbornness. But it had carried more than just a weapon. It had carried a message that echoed across the galaxy. Humans might be primitive. They might be crude. They might be newcomers to the galactic community, but they were not to be underestimated. And they were definitely not to be pushed around. In the end, that was enough. Sometimes when dealing with bullies, all you need is the willingness to hit back hard enough that they remember it forever. The galaxy would remember what happened to Zenturi Prime, and it would treat humanity with the respect that comes not from fear alone, but from the knowledge that some species, when pushed too far, are willing to do whatever it takes to protect their own. Thank you for watching and comment for next part.